Okay. That's weird. All right, my Coffee and Magic members. This is your reading for the week of August 12th. I think I probably wrote 14th on there. I'll have to change that title. I'm just totally lost in the dates. No surprise. All right, so we're kicking off this week with Christine. And I know you had a question about this, the death thing. Like, what is the thing that you need to like kind of, release or move on, let go of? So we're gonna focus on that for yours. See what we got going on. Hi, Jennell. Here we go. Whoop, whoop. All right, so Christine, here is what we have. Trust, the deer, and the dragon. So trust, deer, and dragon in relation to like what is it that you keep getting the message to like release, let go? What is the thing that you keep dragging? Interestingly enough, it's not really that's not really what this is. It's less for you, it's less about releasing and like letting go of a dead energy as much as it is trusting yourself and embracing what is moving you forward now. It's about like if we were going to be like, oh, like letting go of something, it would be fear, I guess. It would be lack of trust. But right now, less focus on like what it is I need to release and more focus on what is it I need to embrace. What is it I need to embrace? What is it I need to allow my power to buoy me up with, right? Because right now, this week, you have some powerful energy on your side to lift you up. And all you need to do is gently walk through and trust yourself. So I hope that helps. Good morning, everyone. Hi, Tiffany. Hi, Karess. So we have some people live for this morning. Loving it. All right. Next up, we have Karess. It'll be interesting to see how your polls this morning connect to earlier Coffee Magic because Christine's did not. We didn't have any crossover cards really, so that's interesting. Always interesting. I'm excited to see you ladies on Wednesday. Get cracking on the workshop. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Whoa. Chris, you ready for this one? Ready or not? So we have the king, risk, and fear. What is happening this week? Okay, so when the king shows up, it means like we have a move to make, right? Like there's a move to make. All right, I'm just gonna say this. I'm getting from this king a very chess vibe. So you know how in chess, the king can only move one step, right? He can only move one step in any direction. Um, that's you right now. So one step is required in any direction, right? One step. And that's what I keep hearing in my head. It's one step. I think you're freaking yourself out by thinking you have to do many steps at a time. And that's bringing all of the fear and the riskiness of the situation to the forefront for you. So just remember, it's only one step you need to take, one step in any direction, and then let the other pieces move. Because if you think about the chessboard, your entire team's job is to protect you. So all you need to do is one step and then wait and let your team reassemble, re strategize, and see what to do. Hope that makes sense. Next up, we have Bubby. All right, Bobby, you have the Raven, movement, excuse me, and the Swan. Raven, movement, and Swan. So, my goodness, for you this week, it's really coming into trusting who you are now. Into like it's almost like for lack of a better term, you've really started to embrace your witchiness and it's like this is who you are now. So like how do you move in that direction? How do you move forward with this person who you've always been, but that you've been kind of like, tempering down a little bit just to like not be too much, right? There's been a lot of shifts and changes in that respect, right? A lot of working with like your feminine energy and everything. And now it's time to allow yourself to continue to move in that direction. It almost like, I don't know what's going on with you. We haven't talked in a while, but it feels like you're, I don't know, are you going to become a wizard or something? Like, and I mean that as like a thing. Like, are you like, are you studying esoteric ways at this time to practice? Like, are you getting into some sort of like occult or ritualistic something? It just feels like you're stepping into something like that. Like you're embracing that as like a vocation almost. So that's this whole card pull is just kind of like affirming that for you, not so much telling you what to do. Interesting week so far, my friends. Next up is Valerie. Also, just gonna throw this out there. If any of you were like kind of like, maybe I do want to be in the normalized magic workshop, you can still join, you guys, because last week was really life channeling. We didn't actually get started. So if you're thinking like, oh, I kind of wanted to join, but I'm gonna have to wait till the next one because I waited too long, you don't need to. If you want to, just send me a DM and we'll get you in. We get cracking Wednesday at 7:30 as per usual. All right, Valerie. Oh, look who's here. Risk and fear, yet again. And then move the cat. This is Valerie. So, Valerie, you have the cat, risk, and fear. So, whenever the cat comes around, obviously we're talking about boundaries, right? But there's also, for this particular one, there is a, it's like a codependent energy that you have recently realized. And I say it that way because it's something that's been so expertly hidden from you that you didn't even realize that it was codependent. Like I don't know if it was a relationship with a person so much as like a relationship with the behavior. I don't know, but something has like recently come to your attention that is like, ooh, that's a very codependent behavior. That's not helping. It's not helping me. You realize it and you are in that space of now creating some boundaries to change it. And that is what a time, right? always the best of times when we decide to do something like that. The reason it's feeling a little sticky and icky is because it's new. And when a codependent behavior became for a reason, and it's unbecoming for a reason. So just as it took a process to get it, it takes a process to release it. And it also takes some work to create some foundation to support your new behavior. So just a little bit of patience as far as that goes. And don't worry about this. Of course it feels risky. Of course it feels scary. It should, because it's literally rewiring your brain. So it's okay to feel these things, and it's okay to keep going forward with pushing those boundaries to kind of remove the oxygen from the codependent behaviors that you have discovered. Next up, we have Tiffany. You may have noticed that I am following the same order every week because I'm just going right by the list. So all right. Yeah, I am doing timestamps, but I've been having an issue with it because it's not, I don't know, it's not processing like it was. I don't know what's going on with my stuff. Maybe it's a retrograde thing, but yes, I will be doing timestamps. I don't know. I wonder if it's because I'm doing it live or something, but yes, I will go back and make sure that everybody has their timestamps because I know that's so much more easy. Okay, this is Tiffany. You have Goblin, Fire Fairy, and the Cat. Goblin, Fire Fairy, and Cat, Tiffany. Okay, so talking about boundaries, right? This is interesting because it's like there's a conflict here, right? You are feeling in one way very creative, very optimistic, very like, let's do this. We got this. I got the energy to finally like move on these things. And there are some people in your life that are not able to get what they need from you when you're putting so much energy into something else, right? So what happens then? What happens in that system? If you are giving too much of your energy in a place that's not an approved place, there's going to be some sort of kerfuffle. It's like some sort of an event to drag you back in. And that's where these boundaries are coming up. So if you've been um, kind of feeling that, or if it's happened already, or maybe it's going to happen this week, just have an eye out for manipulative behavior on the part of people who are used to having more of your attention than they're currently getting. So it could be someone being like, I have a crisis now, Tiffany, like you need to focus on me, that kind of a thing. And just kind of check in with your boundaries on those kinds of people, and remind yourself that like you aren't you aren't in charge of everybody else's emotional needs, even though you kind of have been, right? You don't need to be at this point. In fact, it doesn't work. If you want this, you can't be in charge of everybody else's emotional needs because you will not have enough energy for it. But again, that's why this is happening, because you're putting your energy into this and they're not getting it. So, you know, you know. All right. Next up, we have Kit. All right, Kit, here we go. You have Love, Serpent, and Focus. So, interesting. Focus, Serpent, and Love. So you've had a major shift, like a major one. And it has helped you to really shift into love-based living from fear-based living. Like whatever happened, like it really clicked some things for you. Now you have new things to do. And it's a very different energy for you. Like the things feel almost like life for you has changed cadence. Does that make sense? Like it moves at a different speed now. And now is the time to start focusing on new information that's coming through, new healing information that's coming through, new learning that's coming through. Maybe you're going to be studying something different. Maybe it's getting back into studying when you kind of left that alone for a while. But focusing on like what really tickles your brain and like makes you feel like an opening in that space, like that kind of thing. So that's this week for you. Feels delightful. Next up will be Susan. Wow. Do we have a theme this week? ah! Even if you don't get cat, I think we should all look at our boundaries this week. Okay, Susan, you have cat, stag, and Merlin. So, really big independent energy this week for you. But very masculine, moving forward, very independent energy. And it feels more like this is the vibe for you this week, and to kind of lean into it. This is a week where you don't really need to run anything by anyone to know how you feel about it, if you know what I mean. Like you're not holding a conference call about anything. You're just kind of it's a very confident, let's go, we're moving kind of energy this week for you. And part of that, brought to you by boundaries. You figured something out with your boundaries, didn't you? And it made this energy possible. And so it really is emphasizing that to you this week, that the reason you have this rush of strong masculine energy and power this week is because of the boundaries that you've been putting in place over a longer period of time. They've created this pocket of energy for you to exist in naturally. Okay. So it's really the cat for you isn't a reminder of boundaries so much as a reminder of what the consequence of actually putting up boundaries is that now you have the energy for this massive, like confident, moving forward energy this week. So loving it. All right. Next up, we have Allison. You you won't believe it if I told you. Are you kidding me? I can't right now. What's really wild to me is I don't remember. I don't think we had cat. Did we have cat in the main poll? I don't think we did. But what the fuck? You see that, Allison? So you've cat. Merlin, and cow. So again, I'm just going to say to everybody, boundaries this week. Boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. Like, so much so, right? So Allison, you have cow and Merlin, and cow is all about receiving and receiving and receiving. It's a very abundant energy. And again, receiving. I'm just hearing for you, receive, 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 receive. Now, at the same time, you do have Merlin and the cat kind of dancing together here. So it's kind of like for you this week, the boundaries are really around balance. Okay. If we kind of just move the cow to the side for a second, the boundaries for you are looking at balance because you tend to have a, um, I don't know, inclination. Like when you do boundaries, they're usually very intense, right? It's very like all or nothing with the boundaries. There's not like a middle ground. It's like, this is it. And it's like a big one. So for you this week, looking at boundaries and trying to see more of a middle ground with boundaries, not so severe, not so drastic, because that's what makes the boundaries difficult, right? It's because when you finally decide to enact them, they're basically like cutting everybody off entirely, as opposed to creating new systems to create balance and flow, which will allow you to receive. So, something to think about this week. All right, Jennell, it's your turn. Ooh. I'm shuffling. Ooh, funny, huh? Okay, so you have Merlin, the cow, and Truth. So very similar but different spin from Allison this week. Um, you did not get the boundary cat. So you've got the cow again, which is about receiving. And for you, this is a different message entirely, which is interesting. So I'm actually reading this as you're actually receiving information at this time. Um, so to this week is receiving the information. It is not acting on the information. I don't know what's going on over there, but basically use this week to receive the truth of something and just kind of hold on to it for a second because you're not going to really be needing to make the full decision until like there is a okay, let me put it this way. There is a feeling that you need to make the big decision this week, but this week is more about gathering the information that's true. By the time we exit retrograde, it'll be taken care of, is what I'm hearing, whatever this is. So, really pay attention this week to what is being said and what things actually feel real and true to you and what feels like some bullshit. And just like pay attention. Pay attention to who's trying to manipulate or what's trying to manipulate and what feels like a real thing versus not. You know what I'm saying? And then just know that, like, we have a couple weeks of real energetic back and forth and just vroom, vroom kind of energy that's not very clear. But you're gathering information this week, gathering information about the truth. You're welcome. Julie. Julie. I don't know if you're here. But this is interesting because this is like kind of a little bit of a mashup from two polls, I think, from earlier today. We've got communication, birth and rebirth, and the water fairy for Julie. So the okay, what I'm hearing is that like you have always been a person who has strong, like who feels strongly, right? Like your emotions, you may have been called emotional in your life. I hesitate to say that because like, in our understanding of life now, like everyone's emotional, right? Like that's what people are. They're emotional beings. It's the whole fucking point. But we tend to, you know, talk about people and say like, "Oh, you're being emotional. You're very emotional." Yeah, I think that what I'm trying to say is like you have in the past been pegged as a highly emotional, maybe over emotional, like you feel too deeply kind of a person. Okay? So you've always had that kind of like swirling around, right? The thing that's happening in this birth and rebirth vibe for you right now is like kind of realizing that you're like everything's connected for you and your like two strong emotions inform so much of the information that you've been missing. Like your emotions were so big because what was happening was so big. Like there was a reason. And now you're learning how to communicate. You're learning how to be truthful in what you express, but both to yourself and to others. And what that is doing is giving you this like a renaissance of emotion. So this week might be a bit of a roller coaster as far as like going through feelings that you felt already, but like didn't feel, let yourself feel as authentically, right? Because if you're having, like, let's say you have a feeling about something and it's really affected you deeply, but everybody around you is telling you that you're over exaggerating and you're being too emotional. Doesn't that kind of temper your experience of that emotion, right? So this week might be a little bit of a, going back through and being like, yeah, no, it was though, this very big and kind of feeling it all over again. And I think you should enjoy that. I think you might enjoy that like dip into Piscean, kind of vibes and like feeling those feelings and then letting them be authentic for you. So that's kind of what it is. Just like really embracing that you're emotional because it is actually how humans are, and it's not a fault of yours. Okay. All right. And Yvonne to close it out for us. Well, then, death, love, horse. Okay, so today, Yvonne, something is over and it's time for you to move away from it at a fast trot or even a gallop if that pleases you. But here's the thing: you need to know what you're running towards, and that's what this week is about. Like you get it, like this thing is over, but you need to know where you're running now, and you need to have that direction. Otherwise, it just feels like you're just like lost in space and in suspension, right? Like, where am I going? And it's not necessarily that you have to have a specific destination, but you do need some vibes in to move in direction of. And that's what this is giving you right here. So what has ended is now allowing you to firmly run into love-based reality. So that is your job this week. How do you run into love-based reality this week? This is done. How do you run into your love-based reality this week? Small ways add up to big ways. Little cryptic, but I think you're going to get that. All right. That is your Coffee and Magic members for this week. I'm loving you. See some of you on Wednesday night. And then the rest of you on Wednesday morning if you're on Coffee and Magic. Mwah. Have a great week, you guys.